Well, if the organization is soliciting your voice, speak.
Always believe you were born to win. It's your right to win. Claim it, frame it, 'cause you were.
I often am asked the question, how do I get more influence in my organization? Well, let me start by saying your job title does not define your influence, your actions do. Don't be fooled by somebody's title with respect to whether or not they are a leader or whether or not they have power. The way that you can increase your influence in your organization are these four things. Number one, engage with people. The more relationships that you have in an organization, by definition, the more influence you're going to have because more people will know you. And especially if you are intentional about making sure that engagement is always positive. You want to ask yourself, how do I want people to feel when they leave an engagement with me? And I mean a one on one conversation. That conversation could be 5 minutes, it could be 15 minutes, but you want to make sure that people feel like it was a positive experience just to engage with you. And I don't care if they're meeting you upstairs in the cafeteria, if they're meeting you downstairs for a cup of coffee. Even when you say, "Hey, how you doing?" Make sure you do that with a smile and that you're looking at them and that you are intentional about it. That engagement will go a long way with respect to your influence. The second thing that I'm going to tell you to do is to help out as much as you can within the organization without looking for any credit. Do not get caught into that's not my job, so I'm not going to do it. Because if people know that you are willing to pitch in to be helpful and value add, no matter what, they will look at you very positively. And remember, you don't always know when your name is coming up behind closed doors. And if you are intentional about always contributing, that is what people are going to say. When your name comes up behind closed doors, oh, yeah, Bob, he's always willing to help out. Oh, my goodness. Misha, absolutely. You can always count on her no matter what. And it extends in their minds when they're looking for somebody to take on more responsibility, when they're looking for somebody to do something that hasn't been done before. They're thinking about that person that's always ready to lend a hand. So make sure that you look for ways to contribute, even if it's not part of your job. I'll tell you another thing you might want to think about. Sometimes organizations have volunteer months or they're doing special pro bono things. Get involved because generally those are things that cross all different departments. So now you're getting exposure to people within the organization outside of the vertical that you're working in. And remember, I always say that it's better when people are coming for you, i.e., demand pull versus demand push when you're getting pushed on to another team. The third thing that I'm going to tell you to do is to speak up in meetings. Speak up. Because when people hear your voice, when the organization is used to hearing your voice, then they learn to value your voice. That doesn't mean you have to talk in every single meeting, but that means that you want to be intentional about where you're putting your voice into the conversation. And sometimes you don't have to have an answer, you just need to have a really great question to demonstrate to those at that meeting or those in the room that you are engaged in what's going on. So definitely speak up. And especially if you find yourself in a situation like we found ourselves a few years ago with the awful murder of George Floyd, almost every organization was trying to engage their people in a conversation because of that horrific act. Well, if the organization is soliciting your voice, speak. And the last thing that I'm going to tell you that will also help your influence, make it your business to know as much as you can about your organization. If you're in financial services, for example, you should be reading the Wall Street Journal every day to make sure you know whether or not your company is showing up in the Wall Street Journal. If you're in any business, I would say make sure you're trying to read that because you don't know when you're going to show up in something like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or whatever your paper, your city's paper happens to be. but stay on top of the news, especially as it relates to your organization, or get Google alerts on your organization. But you want to show up every day as somebody who knows what's going on within the organization. You also want to make sure you know who the top leaders are. If somebody asks you who your CEO is, or who your CFO is, or who your general counsel is, make sure that you know that. That is readily available information on the website. So you're not showing yourself as an influencer if you don't know basic information. So if you want to enhance your influence in your organization, do those four things and make sure that you're engaging in a demonstrative way. Go get them.